Welcome to episode 246, Strategies to Understanding Wealth Creation with Christopher Mackin. Welcome to the Be That 1% podcast. I'm your host, James Silvis, mindset specialist and performance coach. And here on the show, I'm going to challenge you to think deeper, commit to greatness, and develop a stronger mindset. You'll hear stories from those who are living life on their terms, and you'll receive strategies that will help you level up. So the question is, are you ready to be your own 1%? Let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Be That 1% podcast. I am joined today with a beautiful soul and incredible man. His name is Christopher Mackin, and he has quite the rap sheet. So I'm just going to introduce you to him. For those of you who don't know, he is a 3-time recognized Forbes top next-gen wealth advisor. He's a serial entrepreneur, explorer, philanthropist, and Reiki master, which I love. He combines his passion for finance and environment by serving closely held businesses owners and environmentally conscious companies. He splits his time between Florida and New York, loves the ocean, and especially being in nature. He actively supports nonprofit efforts of Oceanic Global and is a board member of Ocean Exchange and Far Away Projects. Aside from those things, I had the privilege and the honor of meeting him last November in Lake Tahoe for a mastermind. And when you meet Christopher, his vibe is so warm, and you just want to talk to him. So him and I had a few conversations while there, got to connect, and then we've just stayed in touch since then. And recently we got together and decided, you know what, let's share your story and get the information of wealth and finance out to the world. And so here we are about ready to co-create on this episode. So Christopher, welcome to the show.
James, thank you so much for having me. So much gratitude for the introduction and just the opportunity to speak with you today.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's start with some rapid fire questions, and then we'll hop into the meat of the episode. So as quick as you can, answer the following. Born and raised?
Dallas, Texas, raised in New Jersey, Central Jersey.
Nice. What is a philosophy that you live by?
Kaizen, consistent improvement.
I love that. Simple. What is your definition of failure?
A failure is one in which you decide that something no longer serves you, and you attach yourself to that outcome. I believe that is a failure, and not seeing that it just no longer serves you.
Got it. That's great. Piece of advice that you've received recently that has served you well in either personal or professional life?
To trust the power that you have, and the energy that you are, and just know that you have the ability to heal yourself, to your mindset controls your destiny.
There you go. What is one skill that you're harnessing or cultivating right now?
For me, the one skill that I'm really trying to focus on is the ability to manage several different projects. I've been running a wealth management practice for the past 19 years. And as I've built that team out, it's created more space for me to create some more passion-led projects. And I'm starting to see how they all fit together, but deciding day in and day out how much time to allocate to each one of those projects and how to manage the several inboxes and several calendars and all those things are just something I'm just stepping into, and also leveraging the team better.
Yeah. I love that. Last one, what does the world need more of right now?
Continued mindfulness and higher consciousness.
I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for your insights. And so you've been doing this for 19 years. I imagine just by doing that for so long, you've seen several patterns in the way people think about money, right? Both really good and maybe not so good or not so helpful. And I'm sure that over that time, you've kind of formulated a definition of how you see wealth. And I'm always a fan of starting with definitions so that everything that comes after that definition kind of it has more context. So in your opinion, what does wealth mean to you?
So before I go into the definition, I would say that the majority of mindset that people have around finance is negative, regardless of how much or how little that they have. And that's really, like, over the years, what has just amazed me is that, as I've been growing my financial wealth and connecting more with people that have a significant amount of financial abundance, I expected that I would see happier people. And I started to see a pattern that there's just as many unhappy people that are loaded with financial abundance as comparing to those that don't have that. So when I consider wealth, I really focus on wealth as being like well-being, right? Having a good mindset around not only your financial abundance, but also just your mental, physical, and spiritual connection to yourself, to your family, to your community, to the earth, to the universe, right?
Yeah, that's great. I love that, the multifaceted definition, because it just provides depth and richness to an overall quality of life, which is really, really important. With the individuals or the group of people that maybe you've observed or seen that have that massive amounts of financial abundance, but don't seem to be any more happy or fulfilled. And I don't know how well you know these individuals, or if it's just more of just a pattern, but like what decisions are those individuals making that maybe other people aren't making? Like, if you were to strip away like the financial decisions that allow an individual like that to maybe attract and leverage that capital. So that's like maybe question one. And then the question two is like, why do you think when they get that money that it doesn't either enhance or deepen their fulfillment or happiness? What is missing there from your insight and from your observation?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of smart people out there in the world that are doing amazing things.
Sure.
And, I don't know if you've ever read the book Outliers before by Malcolm Gladwell, but a lot of us think of similar things. So, we'll create ideas in our minds. It's just not all of us implement them. Right. There's obviously the majority of people that are listening to this podcast are most of them are entrepreneurs, I believe, and there's people that really just are good executors. And by being good executors and being at the right place at the right time, they're able to attract those financial resources. And I think, I'm not sure they always necessarily recognize it as abundance, but they're able to attract those resources. So, and then your second question, remind me of that.
Yeah. So why do you think that those that have accrued that financial abundance don't have the association to more happiness, or they're not as happy? Like, they're equally, it doesn't mean much to them that they have that amount? Like, where do you think that comes from? I have my theories, but I'm curious.
Yeah, because you ever have once you I think people get in the habit of, like, once they get somewhere, then they want to just get to the next place, right? They don't sit with what they have and appreciate what they've created. They just do it, and then it's on to the next thing. There's no celebration that occurs. I mean, I've been guilty of this myself.
Right.
So I'm not saying that I've perfected this this either, but oftentimes, the conversations that I'm having with people that have built the financial wealth and are still unhappy is just understanding, like, if they've ever figured out what their purpose is, right? If they've a lot of entrepreneurs get really busy and consumed by their business. Their businesses run their life. Okay. And for me, I've actually designed my life or my business around my life, right? I know what the things that I want to do are, and I've been able to build my business and the systems in my business around the life that I want for myself. I build it around the times that I want to travel in the year, and so on and so forth. So as people continue to build, they often want to build more, right? There's no like stopping. There's no point for them to like stop and say, okay, I've done it. Now I could just like completely stop, right? Most entrepreneurs I talk to, they never want to retire, right? Like retirement to them is just so different than, the average, working employee, right? So the conversation I have with those people is just different. And when they get in the habit of spending so much time like working in their business versus working on themselves or working on their businesses, then they just get in this revolving circle and never really figure out how to step out. And because they don't have that retirement date always picked out, they're not really thinking about what other things in life are going to fulfill them outside of just earning and building, right? So I think that the biggest, one of the most valuable things that I think are worthwhile for people to consider is to, create that space to be involved in other things outside of just your business, right? Be involved in a community.
It kind of sounds like they're compartmentalizing parts of their life when life seems a little bit more fluid, and by maybe isolating certain things, it's easier to just stay focused in the isolation, forgetting all of the other things that may be passing them by, or that just life naturally brings, like relationships, like leisure things, like travel, like all these other options that we have access to. Does that sound accurate to you?
100%. And also, like, think about, your podcast is be that top 1%. What about the other 99%, right? There's a lot of people in this world. Some of them are in the United States that, regardless of how much they work, they're still not financially abundant, or they don't even have water to drink. There's 1 billion people in the world that don't even have water to drink. Like, think about that, right? So, you've gone down to Peru and you've seen how abundant these people feel and how happy they are with so little, right? But I think in the United States in particular, especially compared to other countries, we've built up this mindset of just, needing more and wanting to hoard everything that we've created versus share it with other people that are less fortunate. Or just sharing it with other employees, right? As entrepreneurs, I feel like, and especially nowadays, a lot of people are building, quote, teams. But when I ask them, like, what their benefit structure is and what their partnership structure looks like, it turns out that their team is actually not employees. They're all contractors, right? And the contractors aren't necessarily always people that want to be contractors. That's just the the mindset that I think a lot of people have nowadays, right, is instead of building an enterprise with sharing of resources that we're building together as a team, then everything's compartmentalized into like, this is my thing, and then you just support me in that, right? So I think there's just there's a couple things that those are just a few things that came through for me when you had asked that question. So
do you think that all the stuff that we're talking about is a byproduct of capitalism? Like the wanting of more, maybe the siloed kind of like isolated, I'm gonna get mine type of things. And, I don't know if it's the sole reason, but I imagine that it has a heavy influence. And maybe what the society rewards.
Yeah, I mean, capitalism definitely has something to do with it. I don't think capitalism's a wrong thing. I just think it's been we need to, I think, as humans, like rethink like what capitalism means to us, and focus a little bit less on profit, and blending. People always say it's like talk about balance and rhythm in life, right? So blending more of profit with purpose and community, right, instead of focusing just all on profit, right? So the capitalism is like survival of the fittest. It's competition, right? And that, I think, ultimately leads to very successfully producing societies. However, at the expense of what? Right? At the expense of the other 99% of the population being left behind? No, right? It's how can that top 1%, how can those top leaders actually build a better culture and a better enterprise in what they're bringing to the world?
Yeah. So when you encounter, some of your clients that may need or help them see more of that picture, shift their perspective from maybe only about the bottom line to community and purpose, and the culture around how that money is made and what ways it goes about doing so. Like, what would be some advice or some strategies that you've mentioned to them that have seen to stick and maybe even shift how they either do business or how they just view money in general?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from doing the work to like look at where you're at, right? There's a lot of different modeling that can be done. I mean, people do financial projections in their companies, but they often don't do financial projections for their personal life. So I think that taking the opportunity to speak to someone holistically about what it is that is important to you in your life, the things that you want to accomplish, how much money you require to live based on the lifestyle that you want for yourself and your family, what's needed, right? And beyond what's needed, like, what do you want to do with whatever's left over? Do you want to hoard it and hold on to it? Are you willing to let go of some of it and share it with other people, share that energy with, the rest of the community, the world, however you want to look at it? But really giving people, I think taking the opportunity to just see where you're at and see how you're doing along the path to where you want to be, right? Yeah. Because I think most people that hoard their money have a scarcity mindset and thinking that they're not going to have enough, that they're going to run out, that they're going to lose their money, that they need more, right? But if you don't know what you need, then it's hard to come to a conclusion, as you won't have enough, right? So, but taking a look at what you need and doing it in a very conservative way, right? Using conservative expectations of future returns on investments and other things, and income growth and so on and so forth. I think that that's a great exercise for people to go through, regardless of where you're at in your life.
I think it's a phenomenal exercise. I know I did that maybe 2018. Yeah, I think it was in 2018. I was in a mastermind, and one of the exercises was to do that. And they were like, imagine, the lifestyle that you want, and then build in all the costs that it would take to live that type of lifestyle. And I went, I didn't go extreme of like yachts and jets and like all of that, but it was like, I want to travel X amount of times. I want to live in X square footage house. I like a nice car for my family. So like add in that, being able to support family if needed. And like, I came up with like as many things as I could possibly think of. And then I added all that up, and it was not as high as I thought it would be. And so what that did for me was like, oh, well, I only need that much. I could totally do that, as opposed to like throwing out some arbitrary number like $10 million when I have no correlation as to where that's going. I just say it because I like the status of it, or
Feels good,
I
yeah.
say it because that's what I see, and it's like, well, no, if this is the life that I want, then this is all that I need. And to your point, like whatever's left over, now you can use in a form of service and sharing. And I just love that aspect, but people don't do that. Right. And so if they could just do this one exercise, it would give them so much clarity as to why they're working and how they can help themselves and other people with the money that they earn, to earn more money or to just create more impact. I think it's great.
Yeah, I've been very early in my career. I got involved in some service organizations, and at the time I did it to build a community. I just moved up to Hoboken, New Jersey, and I didn't really know anybody outside of like my friends from Rutgers, and I wanted to connect with the business community there. So I joined a few organizations locally, and as soon as I started earning income, I started donating money, and also donated a significant amount of my time. Now, I went a little overboard, so I'm not going to go too far into details about that. But at any rate, there's this mindset that sometimes people have of like, I'll start donating when I get to this number, or when I retire, or I don't believe that in nonprofit organizations because they're all corrupt, which is a bunch of BS. But there's just an opportunity for people to, again, not even have to wait for a certain period of time to be able to do other things, right? You don't have to, like, even if you're not at that number that you need, just yet, like, okay, just give yourself some space to like focus on other things outside of just making money, right?
Yes. So good. So scarcity, I agree that most people are scarce, and I have definitely I've had to work on that too. And I still catch myself in some of those thoughts, and because of the work that I've done, I have the awareness and I have the tools and I have the community to help pull me out of that sometimes. And my wife's really good at that. So very grateful for her. Where do you think that comes from, and what like small action items do you think someone who may be super scarce in their thinking with money, what would be some things to start either shifting their mind around, or behavioral things that can begin massaging out that scarcity and welcoming in more abundance?
I think a lot of our scarcity is inherited from our parents, from our grandparents. I mean, think about, the Great Depression and what happened during that period of time. I mean, you and I weren't alive at that period, but, I don't know how much you've read about what happened during that period of time, but ultimately people had a lot, and then everything was taken away from them. Okay. So you look at it, even like the clients that I have that, we haven't been working with for many years, that came in working with us last year, the market went all the way up, it on the heels of $13 trillion of stimulus that was injected into the economy. And now the market's down. So their new level of, their most recent level of like highest achievement with their portfolio was the new step for them, right? That was the last like point that they remember. So today, for people, if their portfolios are down because the market's down and crypto's crash and real estate's kind of starting to soften a little bit, they're looking at their loss, right? Because of what they had last year, even though it was just, it's arbitrary, right? Like, the value of whatever they had at that time. But they use that as like a new baseline of where they were and then where they are today. And it's that comparison of feeling like you lost something that puts you back into that scarcity mindset. So we've inherited it not only through ancestry, but also too because at the end of the day, like the with scarcity, I feel that people often think that there's not enough to go around, right? Like you see it during the Black Friday deals, like people clawing at each other to try to get like the last toy that's on sale or whatever before someone else does. Like that is animal like activity, right? If people actually just like approach every day that what is meant for them they will receive, and that as they continue to show up and deliver value to the world that's in alignment with what they feel good about doing, that they will forever have enough, right? But it's the comparison that I think also helps with scarcity, right? That people compare themselves to other people. You see people on yachts and planes, and all of a sudden everybody wants to be on a yacht and plane now. So that's their new baseline of like where they want to build their wealth to. And at the end of the day, that's like a not top 1% thing. That's like a top 0.05% thing, It doesn't have to be that way, but it is that way at the moment. So I really think that focusing on what you have instead of what you don't have is the first step to overcoming abundance.
I think
because what they always say, where your energy flows, your mind goes, whatever it is that people say, right? So wherever you focus your energy, I promise that's how you're going to feel.
It's true. And I look at it also like a survival thing when you're only focused on loss, and maybe more of a thriving or abundant thing if you could focus on what you have. But that's a very primal mode of thinking, right? Like people are way more upset losing $100 than they are happy gaining 100. It's just a natural thing, right? And so when we know that we're not designed for greatness, that human beings are designed for safety and for survival, then we don't judge ourselves for going to the scarcity at first. We just have to be able to recognize that that's our default mode of thinking, and then say, do I want to live on default or do I want to live intentionally? And that question prompts space for you to choose different. And in that choice to choose different, you can welcome in more focus on what you do have, that then makes you feel better about the things that you have, which then primes your focus in the environment to find the things that you have. And then, the like attracts like, and then so on. But there's a real awareness that an individual needs to have, and a choice that needs to be made in that moment of how do you want to live? Because I can guarantee you it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to reach the level of wealth that you may be wanting if you stay in scarcity. It just doesn't happen. It's like what is it? Oil and vinegar that don't mix, right? Like it just
there's
opposites.
I feel like there are some people that have a scarcity mindset that ultimately create significant wealth for themselves. But there's also the cycles that people go through in life that I think are worthwhile talking about in terms of, the failure. You had asked me in the beginning, failure, right? Failure happens, it happens a lot to the really wealthy people in the world, like they don't become really wealthy by not taking a lot of risk, right? Some of the wealthiest people I know are some of the biggest risk takers that I know. And they are willing to bet it all on themselves, on things that they believe in. And if they're wrong, they know that they'll be able to get back up and figure it all out again. And I think that what I've seen, especially recently, you know, when people like look at their bank accounts and, you know, especially with, you know, the economy being the way it's been for, you know, the past 12 months, and, you know, bank accounts have been hit, right? For me personally, I mean, my, you know, income from my business has gone down this year. And, you know, I could sit here and complain and say, why is this happening to me? Versus like, okay, what can I learn from this? Right. And looking at wealth, not only just what's in my bank account, but also looking at all of the things that I've created, my community, my business, my friends, the impact that I'm making. Those things all keep me going, regardless of how much money is in my bank account. And some of the most successful people I've had, they've run out of money, and their businesses have failed, but they didn't just crawl in a corner and say, why me, why me? I mean, maybe they did, and then they ultimately got through it, but they rebuilt, right? And it's just that opportunity to, again, continue to focus on what you have instead of what you don't have. And during this period of time, I mean, I admit it's been challenging for me as I'm building out my teams, having lower income, but I just lean into it and continue to focus on all of that other well-being that I have, the connection that I have with my body, the health that, you know, I've improved. My health has been over the past few years, how much I've enhanced my connection with my, you know, the spiritual realms and other areas of my life that are just like, I'm so abundant right now and feeling all of that.
Yeah. And I love that you say that, because that's a choice that you're making there, you know, and in the face of challenge, you're still focusing on the impact and maybe the opportunities that can come from the challenge. And you're human, so you do get hit by it, but you don't, like you said, you don't stay there. And I think that's the key. That's the important thing, is that's the form of resilience and adaptability. And we all can be that, but it is a mindset shift, and it does take conscious effort. So
yeah, and even too, like for the people that are, you know, listening, that are struggling with income, step back. Is what you're doing like really what you want to be doing? Does it feel good? Is it aligned with your purpose, like what you want to create in this world, what you think what you feel like you're really good at, what you enjoy doing, what brings a smile to your face? There's so many ways to make money in this world. There's active, there's passive, there's investments. You typically need some money to make investments, but you can even, there's programs out there now that actually, you know, they let you figure out ways to borrow $100,000 on 0% credit cards. Like there's ways to get money, right? But really just take this opportunity to think about what you're doing to earn income and see if it's in alignment. If it's not, like, let it go. Try something new, shift, pivot, even if it's a career that you really like, something that you're super passionate about, but you're spending a lot of time trying to build revenue a certain way, or build connections, or build momentum a certain way, and it's not working. Like, just shift. It's all about shifting, adjusting the sails. And, you know, we're in a changing world right now. I mean, I just, this chat GBT thing, you know, that came out recently, I was like playing with that. And like, I mean, business is changing, life is changing. We have all these different tools that are at our fingertips. How can you use them to leverage, you know, what your creativity and what really feels good for you to do on a daily basis.
Yeah. Would you say more people struggle to earn money at varying degrees, some little to lots, or are they more challenged with saving / investing / spending habits? Like where do most people fall, do you think?
Well, I feel it's different between entrepreneurs and employees.
Okay.
So knowing that like the majority of your listeners are entrepreneurs, I'll focus on the entrepreneur side. Most people discount the value that they add and underprice their services because
I
they're
agree with that.
afraid to ask for more. They don't have
I was there.
yeah, they don't have the mindset there. They have the mindset of like, oh, if I ask for more money, they're gonna say no.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time that's BS. That's just a story we're telling ourselves in our head and what we're accustomed to. But again, been guilty of it, man. This is just this things I've learned along my path. But don't be afraid to ask for more. Like understand what your value is. Like feel into your value. Like, do you feel like confident in what you're delivering and that what you're delivering is well received? Well, and if so, like raise your services. I mean, if as a coach, the coaching work that you do, if you haven't increased your coaching services by 8% this year, like inflation has, you're doing yourself a disservice. Your cost of living went up, but your fees stayed the same. So why,
Right.
I mean, there's people just get like, they keep their services. I mean, I don't know when was the last time you changed your coaching services?
This year.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
So you're not the right person.
That's why when you said, I was like, yeah, me.
Oh, nice, dude. We did not script. That was not scripted.
No, that was not scripted.
But yeah, if you haven't raised your rates for coaches out there, or depending on like whatever value you're providing, I think that often people like don't charge enough, right? Like if they're organizing, I see it a lot amongst retreat leaders in the spiritual realms. But yeah, consider raising your services, raising your rates. I think that's a really good step for people to earn more. But I think once you start earning enough to sustain your the baseline lifestyle that you want for yourself, don't focus on spending all of the new money that comes in on just enhancing your lifestyle. Spend some on investing back into yourself, right?
Yeah.
Coaching, for example. Spend some on or save some, right? People should really be saving, I think, ideally like 15% of their income to be able to retire at a decent age. If they want to stop working. If they don't want to stop working, then the numbers are different, as long as they can. But make sure that you have the right benefits in place so that you protect yourself from health events that might occur, that you protect your family. And think about like sharing some of what you've created with the people that don't have it, right? And see how that feels, and whether that be money, like actual currency, right? The energy, right? Or just your time, right? I know I'm not going to ask you to donate your time because you just had a second baby arrive, and I'm sure you got your hands full. But at some point down the road, you might be able to donate some of your time again. But now's not the right time for you.
Yes. I do. I have picked certain charities that I've supported for their cause, and then always a fan of warrior retreats, so I donated some money there. And it's always nice to be able to give back, and I know I've been in situations where people have sponsored or supported me in those ways, and so it's important for me to remember that each year as I choose where that current goes. And also like something that I changed a couple years back for my birthday, I always try to do a form of service on my birthday. Whereas like when you're younger, it's more so like, I'm gonna go party, come with me, let's celebrate me. And I think that at some point in your life that's just a thing that you need to do. And then for me, as I got older, it's like, I've been gifted a life, and what do I want to do with that life? And so one of the highest things that I think a person can do is serve. And so what
Mm,
better way to serve than to be on the day that you were given life to serve a life,
mm.
and that really resonated with me. And so I do my best to find something that I can do in the form of service, specifically on my birthday and other times throughout the year. But that's the
That's
big one
beautiful,
for
man.
me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And really from a service standpoint, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I think, one of the biggest learning lessons that I have from service experience is to, regardless of what service that you do, you're always helping people,
Yeah.
right? Um, but just think about how you want to help people before you think about providing service, right? For example, me, I love the ocean. I love the ocean, and I drink so much water on a daily basis, and I love my showers. So to me, the two biggest causes that I donate to are, ocean conservation and water resources, right? So providing water resources to people that don't have them. So I donate my money and my time to those things because that's just what I love. It's just what I'm connected to. It's what feels good. The service that I started providing in the beginning of my career, when I first started making money, I mean, it felt damn good. But after a while, like, I just didn't feel a connection to it anymore because it just really wasn't as aligned with me. It was around like doing like education support, and that education's important for sure, but it's just like it didn't connect with me, with my heart, as much as what other things did. So several years ago, I really just sat with like, what do I love? Like, what does the world need from me, right? And sit with that. Like, it's not something that you need to rush to do, but just sit with that and make a decision from there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Just to summarize what we've talked about so far and going back to some of the percentages, I think that's helpful to use as a benchmark. I know that changes depending on where people live and income and all of that. If you had to generalize a blanket percentage of what percentage of money should be saved, invested, living expenses, like how would you break that down? Let's say it's just for the average person to work from. That may not be an end all be all, but something to like use as a place marker.
Hmm. The 15% number is great, because, and it doesn't need to all be in like retirement accounts, right?
Sure.
I'm not saying that retirement accounts are even meant for everybody. There's certain periods in our life, and again, like when we're in our 20s, like maybe we're saving for a house, so the majority of your savings should probably not go to retirement. They should go towards building, enough reserves for you to buy the property of your dreams, right? But don't wait to save, because a lot of people make the mistake of waiting and saying, oh, I'll do it when I get to this, when I do this. And then it never happens. And then they're 50 years old and they don't have anything in savings, and they don't have a business. They don't have any value to their business because either, the business world changed and their business went to zero, or I mean, just things happen. You can't rely on any one thing. But also too, part of that saving could be like going back to reinvesting for yourself. Right. I think that's one of the best, and that is the best investment that people can make, is in themselves. Right. And as long as you're spending that money investing in yourself, and not necessarily like always your lifestyle, but yourself, like improving yourself, that you will continue to rise the tide. Will continue to improve in life, and that'll be the best rate of return that you get.
Right. And then with rent or mortgage and bills, where is a good spot to kind of try and keep that? Whether that means you have to earn more to keep that percentage gap where it needs to be, or you maybe need to cut back on some spending that is unnecessary. Like, where's a good balance there?
Yeah, so we don't do a ton of budgeting, but I mean, at the end of the day, and again, it's different for
Sure, sure.
for entrepreneurs. I mean, just some entrepreneurs I know, they like don't pay taxes because they figure out ways to write everything off, and you call it illegal or illegal. I'm not going to go into the details, but the at the end of the day, entrepreneurs have a lot of, there's pros and cons to being an entrepreneur, but we have the ability to write off. But let's just say you're in a 30%, 35% income tax bracket. Okay. That leaves about 65% left over, right? So if you have 15% that goes to saving, that gives you 50% left over. Okay. So deciding how to chop that 50% is really depending on the lifestyle that you want for yourself. Like, should rent be 50%? Absolutely not. That's a terrible idea, because it doesn't give you any ability to save towards other things, or enjoy your life, and go out and have nice meals if you like having meals, or if you like to go out and travel. That's why, again, it's just different for everybody, because everybody has a different lifestyle that they want. Like, I know some people that like eating out at expensive restaurants is not a priority for them. It's a priority for me. I love delicious food and going to, nice restaurants. I love that atmosphere. I love the scene. But to me, my home, I have, that's probably one of the lowest overhead things that I have. One of the reasons why is because I'm never home. I travel a lot, right? I spend time, I spent my time between New York and Florida. So for me, having these big properties right now where I wouldn't even be able to enjoy the space, like, doesn't make sense for me. So my rent in New York and my mortgage down here in Florida are really low comparatively to other people, right? But
That's cool.
I don't spend as much time at home as a lot of other people do.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if I don't have a
it's a hard
answer
question to
there,
answer. I just wanted to see what insights you could give, generally speaking, to those listening. What would you say is your favorite thing about what you do?
To help people change their mindset around their money and help them make smart decisions, because so many people make decisions from scarcity, from worry, from you name it. I mean, and oftentimes, if you look at the masculine and feminine, most women are actually very conservative. Most men are very aggressive. And on average, it's not always the case, but when you have that difference between a man and woman in the household, or even just the masculine and feminine in a gay relationship, there's really typically two mindsets, right? Opposites sometimes attract, right? So helping people overcome those differences that oftentimes they don't talk about together, and be able to be a bridge for those conversations to happen. I've had so many people come to meet me, husband and wife come in, and you can tell they're struggling. They're disagreeing on a lot of things. They've never talked about, we uncovered that one of them wants to live in Florida, the other one wants to live in Canada in retirement. They're just so on opposite sides of the spectrum, right? But because they've never had the conversation before. It's so weird in the United States, like, so little people talk about money. It's like this thing that like no one wants to talk about. In Japan, it's like one of the first questions people ask each other is how much money they make. But here in the States, it's like, oh my God, you can't ask that. That's like, it's forbidden. And even amongst couples, just the communication, the lack of communication around finances is worrisome to me, and just being able to be a bridge for that conversation to happen. And then months later, see a couple like come into the office, like just smiley, giggly, and just feeling good about where they're at. It's not always that way, right? Sometimes I got to be the deliverer of bad news, but it's that's just comes along with the job,
Yeah, I know when Amanda and I have had our finance discussions, there have been several that have been, heated, and it can cause some triggers that prompt you to ask yourself, why is this irritating me so much, or why am I so charged with this specific thing? And but because of those conversations, my mindset around money has completely shifted. And if we didn't have those, my anxiety around money would, I'm sure, have doubled, tripled, because I have no one to talk about it with. It's like any emotional turmoil that you have, the more you open up and share and articulate what is happening, the better you feel. It's like you can't keep shoving it down. And I love that you do that, because that can free so much so much bandwidth to actually come up with a strategy, either to make more money or to use money more efficiently. And then they can have more deep conversations, and love can flow more freely, as opposed to maybe being put on the back burner
Mm.
because worry and fear and insecurity is running the show. And yeah, that I just speak from personal experience. It's a game changer when you can talk about those things, have the courage to.
It's a game changer. So you've done a lot of personal work,
Mhm.
and it's never easy, right? If it
No.
was easy, everyone would do it. But when it's done, when the work is done, you know how it feels on the other side. It's the same way with finances, right? It's hard conversations that sometimes need to be had, but once you have it, you're like, oh man, that felt so damn good. I was able to get that off of my chest, because at the end of the day, everybody has their 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are negative and recurring, right? And so
Mhm.
if you're constantly like thinking about like, oh my God, how much my husband or wife spends, and they're not being prudent with our money, and if you're not talking about that, man, that's why divorce rate in the US is
Yeah.
so high. The majority of divorces happen over disagreements with finances or financial difficulties, right? And I think that the more people that heal their personal their traumas and have a sounding board of someone to talk to openly about like their decisions around finances, not someone to like a broker like that, like, oh, go buy Apple stock. Like, no, like
Mhm.
someone to talk to about their financial situation,
Mhm.
about their goals, the things that they want to accomplish in life, like their family, fulfillment, their career, their passions, what I'm going to do when I stop working, or what I'm going to do in, life 2.0, or what the mission statement is for our family foundation, or, it's just
Mhm.
having someone to talk to about that stuff, I think is very important.
Yeah.
If
And
you're not able to have those conversations yourself. Some people,
right.
can do it on their own, right? But other people need someone else involved. It's just like why some people need coaches and others don't, right?
Mhm.
But you either heal or you don't heal.
Right. And I also noticed too, I mean, I have been through this, is like, I think a lot of us associate how much we make to our worth, and it's a status thing too. So if we think that we don't make a lot of money, we're less inclined to talk about it, because if we say it and someone knows how much we make, then they may see us as less than, or you know whatever we think that they're going to feel. And do you notice that, and do you sense that too? And what would you say to someone who has a severe attachment to their value as a human being and who they are, and the how much money they make, good or bad or indifferent?
Yeah. It's the feeling of lack around how much money they make, and also the
Hmm.
feeling of lack around how much they have saved, or how much their like net worth is, right?
Hmm.
That's why the majority of people don't speak to professionals. And I've seen it with my family even. The difference in how different people in my family have worked or not ever approached professionals in the past because they of feelings that they've had. And regardless of how much you feel your worth or how much you're feeling like you're earning compared to other people, like, we're all humans living the same life experience, just in different ways. We're all after the same pursuit of happiness and joy. And there are people out there that will help guide you, right? It might not be me. I mean, the majority of clients that I'm working with are, have several $1 million of investable assets because I work with a small group of people because I wanted to have several businesses, right? And I can't, that's just the way I've built my business. But there are plenty of people out there that you can go to seek guidance, and it doesn't even cost a lot of money. There's a lot of planners out there that will charge $1,000 or $2,000 to complete a financial plan, and you don't even have to hire them as an advisor. They'll just do the work for you. There's robo advisors and all these cool tools and stuff that you can use online. But I mean, I think having a human guide you through financial decisions, and someone that actually like cares and like isn't just trying to sell you something, but like they actually want to help you make smart decisions around your money. I mean, I hope that answered your question, but I think that ultimately at the end of the day, like, regardless of how much money you've made or saved in the past, like, you are enough. And just, if you continue to just stay focused on like doing things that you're passionate about, doing things that feel good, and creating value for other people in the world, like you'll never worry about not having enough.
Yeah. It's beautiful. What's something that we haven't talked about yet that you feel is really important to mention and would really help the listener either develop a stronger mindset around money or become more resilient as a person, which would naturally attract money, or just improve their relationship to money?
We've talked about it a lot, but I think the thing that came to me was, we talked briefly about this before, but I want to emphasize it because I think we just went over the tip of the iceberg. There are so many ways to make money and to invest money. You got to pick your lane and focus on it, and not get thrown off path by everyone else doing other things, creating other things, and jumping. A lot of people get in the habit of constantly like reinventing themselves like every few months and like doing things and then ultimately never creating, right? So just put your blinders on and just stay focused on showing up every day for yourself first, for your family, for the world, and do your best to create value and do it from a place that feels good. And at that place, like, you will never have any problems, running out of money or feeling scarce.
Yeah. I do like the alignment piece because I often talk about that too. When you organize your life in a way that's centered around who you are, your values, your beliefs, the impact that you want to make, and everything you touch amplifies that. The amount of energy that you have access to increases, and the endurance that you have increases because you're minimizing the tasks or the responsibilities that drain the energy unnecessarily. Any action you take is going to require energy, right? But when you take action in a direction that lights you on fire, like you feel good about that,
It's
you
magnetic.
invest the energy. Yes. And it like, you get it back while you're doing it. So it doesn't feel as draining, right? Whereas you're doing something you hate and you can't stand, like, not only are you losing the initial energy it takes to do it, but then the feeling around it drains your energy even more. And then maybe you even judge yourself over doing that. So there's like 3 avenues of energy loss in that one thing. So just by correcting or adjusting or refining what you put your time and energy and attention to, like that dramatically opens up your mind to new avenues, to new people, to new information that when leveraged correctly just takes you from where you are to a new level, like exponentially. You grow so much. And so if to what you were talking about earlier, if we can just create 20 minutes to just start asking deeper questions, or just ask the question again and again and again to get to a deeper answer that is in alignment with you, and then take action on that, the ROI is going to be massive.
Yeah. And then also too, it's like, all right, like if you've determined like you're on the right path, you really love what you do, in terms of the value you're creating for the world, don't try to do it all on your own. One of I think the mistakes that I made, in my career was I tried to do everything on my own. I was very controlling. I wanted to do it perfectly. Everything's perfect if I do it, right. Man, the more that I like lean into my team for supporting me in the things that I don't want to do, and communicating those things, right? Making sure that like I have the right support structure in place, and that they know what I don't like to do, so that they can either do it, or if it doesn't serve them, that we can hire someone to do it. So as you're building out your enterprise, number one, don't build it from you sitting on top. Build it from you supporting your team, okay? From the bottom. You are no better than them. They are humans as well. They are looking for joy and happiness. And when you can really like just put yourself either below them or on the same playing field and treat them that way, and understand that they have families and they're trying to create in this world and do all the things that we've talked about today, living that human experience, and creating the culture around a win-win situation for everyone that's helping you build this empire, that's when failure is no longer an option, because it doesn't have to be, because you are so supported in everybody that's helping you, and they're winning also. So everybody's winning.
True. You mentioned the difference between someone calling a team a group of contractors versus like maybe creating a company that has employees. If someone does not want to create an organization with employees, and they have really good relationships with the freelancers or the contractors that they hire to do what it is their business needs, how would one go about creating the culture that you're talking about within a group of contractors if everyone in that group understood the importance of that team? Maybe that would naturally go to a business, but if it didn't and it stayed as, a group of independent contractors, how would you handle that?
To still treat them as a team, right? The benefits and profit sharing and all that's nice. But if someone's that's supporting you is a contractor, and they actually want to be a contractor because they want to support multiple people, then so be it. But if you are the only person that they're working for, they shouldn't be a contractor. That's just that's not what it was. That's not what that was designed for, right? But if there are, let's just say you have fractional employees, right, or contractors, right, where someone's supporting you like 10 hours a week or something, and you have 10 people that are doing that. Well, when you have your team meeting, your team retreat, bring everybody in together to be in a space, to share that space, to share the energy, to work through, like treat them as a team. That's what they are. Right. And, try to build that culture. I mean, it's a little bit more difficult when you have, fractional employees, because they're trying to balance multiple cultures and teams and visions and drive. But I mean, I'm not like fractional employees are I have fractional employees in my business, and it's allowed me to provide such a robust offering to our clients because I've been able to do it in a fractional way. So I'm not saying it's bad, but I think there's an opportunity to still build a culture and community amongst amongst all the people on your team.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not it's set up as a true enterprise or not.
Yeah. That's awesome. Christopher, I appreciate you and your wisdom, and thank you for all the insights and strategies and exercises you provided in this call. And thank you for just being a man of integrity and for aligning your life in a way that brings joy and happiness, and to serve as a reminder. I know you're still working on you, and that work will never stop, but what you've done so far is, for me, is serve as a reminder to remember that there's a life to be lived, not just a business to be run. You know, and if we could remember that each time we do the work that we do in various aspects of our lives, I think that we will have more quality and squeeze as much as we can out of as many areas of life as possible. So thank you for being that. Thank you for taking the time today. And any last words before we wrap up?
I'm so blessed to be on this podcast with you. Just really, truly honored. I've been following you for a long time, and it's just, I'm so excited to be here today and have this conversation with you. Thank you for the opportunity, for what you do for your community, for what you do for the world, for how you show up as a husband to Amanda and your boys. And I see you, brother. Thank you so much. And I guess I'll leave everybody with the saying Sat Chit Ananda. And that means existence, consciousness, bliss. Bless your beautiful life, brother.
All right, everybody, go back out there today. Schedule some time for yourself to get clear on what aligns what you need in your life and how you can make one of these shifts that we talked about today present in your life so that your relationship to money strengthens. All right, much love.